Now at 6 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, Port Lavaca police arrest a woman on evading arrest charges.
Plus, Victoria County commissioners are looking at a new type of tax program to attract businesses.
And while Florida recovers from Hurricane Helene, a Category 5 storm is bearing down on the Tampa area.
We are talking about Milton that organized over the weekend and is now a Category 5, folks. Look at that, 180 miles an hour right now off the tip of Yucatan, and it looks like it's going to take a direct hit on Tampa Bay, Florida. They need to get ready now. We'll have more on our local weather coming up in a moment.
And Victoria West battles Alamo Heights in a massive game here in Week 7. That's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Brubaker.
And I'm Shawna Currie. Victoria ISD is holding a series of meetings to talk about the upcoming voter-approved tax rate election.
One of those meetings is just about to start. 25 News Now reporter Trenton Whiting is there and joins us with details. Trenton?
Dawn, Shawna, thank you. Here shortly, Victoria ISD will provide more information about the votary here at Victoria East High School inside the library. The meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. The votary is a tax rate increase intended to boost wages for teachers and staff in Victoria ISD schools. It would create around $7 million in additional funding for salaries if passed. Teachers could see a salary increase anywhere from $1,500 to $7,000. Clerical staff and bus drivers would see a $2 an hour pay raise. Taxpayers would see a rate of about 89 cents per $100 valuation. That's a 9-cent increase, which is over the maximum they can increase taxes without an election. Interim Superintendent Randy Meyer says that the board has dropped the school tax rate 39 cents over time. He says the district is asking for 9 cents back to help fund and retain their staff.
We want to keep our excellent, awesome teachers. We need to pay them a competitive wage because everybody else around us is wanting our teachers. And if they're willing to pay more than we are, we're not going to be able to keep them here for our kids. We want you to stay here in Victoria. We need you here in Victoria, and Victoria loves you back and thanks you for what you're doing for our students.
Our trustees are definitely being able to be trusted. They have worked like yeomen to get things done. And the money that is being spent just where we asked them to spend it, which is for our teachers and also to make sure that we get and maintain the best maintenance guys that money can buy.
The next votary information meeting will be this Thursday, October 10th at Shorelimmer Elementary. It'll be inside the library at 6:30 p.m. Only those who registered to vote by today's 5 p.m. deadline can participate in the November 5th election where the votary will be on the ballot. Reporting live, Trenton Whiting, KAVU-TV, 25 News Now.
All right, thanks a lot, Trenton. Well, a voter-approved tax rate election is also on the November 5th ballot for Industrial ISD voters. Industrial ISD will hold a community informational meeting for its VATRE tomorrow, starting at 6 p.m. at the Lolita Fire Hall. A presentation will be followed by time for questions and answers. And this brings us to our viewer poll. Do you plan to attend a voter-approved tax rate election information session soon? Yes, no, or already attended one. Right now, 86% of you say that you do not plan to attend one. Interestingly, 0% say that they've attended one, that they already have been to one. So we want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote, and we'll have the latest results on 25 News Now at 10.
A 44-year-old woman was arrested on 2 charges. Port Lavaca police arrested Debbie Maldonado on evading arrest and detention. She is in the Calhoun County Jail in lieu of $53,000 bond. Hurricane Milton is now threatening the state of Florida with dangerous winds and storm surges. Excuse me. Residents in the path of the storm today were busy preparing for its arrival. In Vero Beach, southeast of Orlando, homeowners filled sandbags to brace against the storm. Forecasters say it will likely reach the Gulf Coast of Florida on Wednesday.
Yeah, and Florida is bracing for what could be its largest evacuation since 2017, that evacuation ahead of Hurricane Milton.
The storm rapidly intensifying into a powerful Category 5 hurricane Monday. Residents are simply being told, just get out now.
Days ahead of Hurricane Milton's expected landfall, Floridians are preparing. Long lines of cars waiting to fill up sandbags along the western coast. Officials are urging people to finalize their preparations now and get out of the path of this storm.
You have time to execute your plan, but you got to do it now. There have been some evacuations that have been issued. There's going to be a flurry of them today. I know the counties are working on opening shelters.
You cannot wait and see. You have been told what's going to happen.
The storm is projected to make landfall as a Category 3 near the Tampa area late Wednesday or early Thursday, packing 120-mile-per-hour winds. Officials are warning about the threat of storm surge, rain, and flash flooding. A state of emergency has been declared in 51 of the 67 counties in Florida.
Please, if you're in the Tampa Bay area, you need to evacuate. If they have called for your evacuation order, I beg you, I implore you to evacuate. Drowning deaths due to storm surge are 100% preventable if you leave.
10 days removed from Hurricane Helene's devastation, debris from that storm still lingers, prompting Florida's governor to deploy the National Guard to help assist with debris removal that could cause more damage from Milton's forecasted winds.
That creates a huge hazard if you have a major hurricane hit in that area this week.
I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
Texas A&M Task Force 1 continues its deployment in North Carolina, helping with search and rescue operations after Hurricane Helene. The task force, which was sent close to 2 weeks ago, remains focused on wide area searches and providing support to residents affected by the hurricane. The task force includes firefighters and rescue professionals from across Texas, and they're saying they're having a bigger problem because they're used to doing this kind of thing after storms, usually in very, sea level situations, not in this mountainous situation like they're having in North Carolina. That's a big problem.
Definitely different terrain. So, well, now we go over to First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez. And Mac, Milton is actually bringing us some of the sunny and warm weather, right?
No doubt about it. We're going to be the beneficiaries of some glorious weather for the next couple of days coming at us from the north because we're on the backside of the storm. But the storm is going to be one for the record books, folks. And we cannot emphasize any further the fact that this is going to bring in massive storm surge, 120 to 140 mile an hour winds, and Milton is going to go down on the record books as a big storm. We'll have more on that coming up in just a moment, and take a look at your local weather after this.
Mac, thank you. The FEMA deadline to apply for help after Hurricane Beryl is this Thursday, October 10th. That's also the deadline to apply for a Small Business Administration disaster loan in Matagorda, Wharton, and Jackson counties. FEMA assistance is limited to basic needs, but aid may be available for personal property that was uninsured or underinsured at the time of the storm. FEMA has already approved more than $751 million in relief across Texas. A small plane crashed into a lake in Fort Worth this afternoon. The plane was fully submerged in Eagle Mountain Lake, about 200 yards from shore. There's no word on how many people were on board or if anyone was hurt. The FAA and other agencies are investigating. The DPS troopers with Operation Lone Star found more than 300 people trying to cross into the United States illegally in just 1 week. Many people who are seeking asylum in the U.S. are placed in an Immigrations and Customs Enforcement detention facility. ICE officials say there are almost 1,800 detainees in the Pearsall Detention Center. That's nearing the maximum capacity for the center.
The U.S. Supreme Court lets stand a decision barring emergency abortions that violate the Texas ban. In asking for a review, the Biden administration pointed to the Supreme Court's action in an Idaho case that narrowly allowed emergency abortions to resume. Without detailing their reasoning, the justices kept in place a lower court order that said hospitals cannot be required to provide pregnancy terminations that would violate Texas law. The Supreme Court will not hear an appeal from a former Texas police officer who was convicted in the death of a woman who was shot through a window of her home. Aaron Dean was convicted of manslaughter in Atiana Jefferson's fatal shooting. He was sentenced to nearly 12 years in prison. Dean was originally charged with murder. He argued on appeal that prosecutors should not have been allowed to ask the jury to consider the lesser charge at the end of the trial.
Texas college students with immigrant parents lost out on college aid because of a FAFSA glitch. The Texas Tribune reports the glitch kept the students from submitting the form on time, which put them last in line to receive aid this year. The revamped FAFSA prevented parents who did not have a Social Security number from adding their financial information online. Students affected by the glitch had to wait months for the U.S. Education Department to come up with a workaround so they could complete the form. Victoria County officials are still unsure about how or even if any tax abatement plans should be presented in what is known as the pilot program, or the payment in lieu of taxes program. County officials could give a tax abatement status to new businesses, freeing them from a tax burden for a set period of time. But county officials could still request businesses to make payments to the county while in the tax abatement period. Jonas Titus with the Victoria Economic Development Corporation says that more research needs to be done to see if the pilot program is right for the county.
Looking at continuing conversations with the Port of Victoria, VEDC, and other stakeholders to figure out what is the best way to craft a language that may include an inclusion of this payment in lieu of taxes to coincide with future tax abatements.
County officials opted to not act on implementing a pilot program at this time in order for more research to be done. Titus says that with the expected growth at the Port of Victoria, any pilot program would perhaps interfere with growth at the port.
Commemorations and protests are held across the world to mark 1 year since the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. The attack killed about 1,200 people. People gathered at the National Mall to honor the victims of the attack. In Texas, Governor Greg Abbott ordered flags flown at half staff. And at a ceremony in Austin, Governor Greg Abbott read the names of the 7 Americans who are still being held hostage by Hamas. Well, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. If you hit the like button, click the notification bell, you'll get alerts whenever we upload new videos. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 6, a Russian court sentences an American to prison for fighting for Ukraine.
Also ahead, while recovering from Hurricane Helene, Florida is dealing with large mosquito populations. The Supreme Court declined to hear an appeal from Elon Musk's X Corp, claiming special counsel Jack Smith violated the First Amendment. The special counsel obtained a search warrant for former President Donald Trump's messages on Twitter and barred the company from disclosing it. Twitter, now known as X, argued Trump should be allowed to claim executive privilege and at first declined to comply.
A court in Russia sentences a U.S. citizen to nearly 7 years in prison for fighting as a mercenary for Ukraine. 72-year-old Stephen Hubbard of Michigan reportedly pleaded guilty last month. Russian prosecutors accused him of fighting with Ukraine after signing a contract for about $1,000 a month. Russian forces detained him in April 2022.
A Florida county has reported 3 confirmed cases of mosquito-borne dengue fever.
Large mosquito populations have grown in the area following Hurricane Helene.
The Pasco County Mosquito Control District is out in full force after Hurricane Helene.
We have spent the entire week performing larvicide applications, targeting the mosquitoes in the immature stage.
You'll see inspectors flying from above and boots on the ground spraying backyards and anywhere holding water.
Mosquitoes are the world's deadliest animal, and these guys are your heroes. The ladies and gentlemen that work in mosquito control industry, they're really doing everything that they can to protect your health.
Adrian Rogers says the Mosquito Control District is targeting mosquitoes that have hatched off in the water before they become flying and biting adults, especially during a time so many people are having to keep their doors and windows open with piles of debris outside from the hurricane, which can collect water.
We also have an issue with dengue fever this year. We really want to be making sure that we're doing everything we can to get out here and control mosquito populations so that we don't have any additional mosquito disease transmission.
Roger says you want to make sure you're wearing insect repellent and try wearing long sleeve shirts and pants to cover up any exposed skin.
You really can't do a whole lot about the debris piles. If you can, turn things over so they're not collecting water, but I realize that's a big ask right now, but just general good habits, just try not to let anything collect water and make sure you're protecting yourself from mosquito exposure.
In Pasco County, I'm Lydia Vasquez, ABC Action News.
Hurricane Milton, now a Category 5 storm, will track just north of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula through tomorrow before turning more to the northeast and heading straight for Florida. Milton will unleash torrential flooding, rainfall, and powerful winds over the Yucatan Peninsula early this week, and similar conditions could arrive in Florida as early as Tuesday night.
And courtesy of Milton, we're getting beautiful weather. I don't know if you noticed it today. We got a pretty strong, fresh north wind coming in. That's actually directed by Milton, but we're getting the dry side of everything. So your weather is going to be spectacular for the next couple of days. We'll have your forecast coming up after this. Well, good afternoon, everyone. 92 degrees right about now. We managed to get up to 95 this afternoon. Those temperatures, running above normal for this time of year. We should be about upper 80s, but, we see what's going on the East Coast, and we thank our lucky stars. Interesting to note that we're not going to get any rain for the next 7 days as Milton does its thing. And what I'm getting to is that we've had 28 days already with no rainfall. Officially at the rain gauge. So we may go another 35 days without any rainfall, and that's not exactly good for us in the long term. We're looking, of course, beautiful skies over much of the crossroads, lovely sunshine. Temperatures will be staying in the low 90s right on through the next 7 days. But like I said, this is all Milton all week long. Here's Milton developed. We talked about Milton last week when it was just a blob off the coast of Tampico. It organized and went from a Category 1 to a 5 in 24 hours. That is called rapid intensification. And now it's sort of skirting off the Yucatan Peninsula at 180 miles an hour. Okay, that is a sustained wind. What does that mean? That means they could get wind gusts higher than that to 190, 200 is possible. I mean, I've seen it recorded. And of course, that generally occurs over water. Over land, obviously the land slows it down. Temperatures again on the warm side tomorrow, but 95, but then rest of the week we should be dropping to the low 90s, but low humidity. Night times getting down to the mid to low 60s to be very comfortable. All right, let's take a look at Milton. Here are the coordinates: 21.8 north, 90.8 west, currently at 180 miles an hour, moving easterly at 10 miles an hour. Okay, that's easterly, so it's going to basically touch on the Yucatan Peninsula. I believe that then it'll start bouncing to the north, and then it'll strengthen. Now, pressures are down to 905. For those of you that know weather, that is extremely low pressure. That gives you a storm of incredible proportions. Now, the storm center, it will stay out over the water and be strong as a 5, then probably come ashore as a 3. Once it starts touching land, it starts to slow down a bit, but that is still a monster storm, and hurricane watches and warnings are already up. Fort Myers to Tampa Bay, they're going to have a lot of damage. We can just pretty much establish that. Remember, Helene came up this way and went into the Panhandle. That affected Tampa already. This is a second blow within 2 weeks. It's pretty amazing over the same spot. Again, the storm surge is going to be the most dangerous part of that thing. That's why everybody just needs to go. We have another area of disturbed weather in the Caribbean, one off the North Carolina, another one in the Central Atlantic, and one down here and one going over there. So in October, to have that many systems going, part of our new world of climate change, all right? Here we are looking at what the storm's going to do. Should pick up a little bit of a northeasterly path, then slams right into Tampa Bay. This is going to be a huge part. A 15 to 20 foot surge is what they're expecting, so we just pray for them, I guess. Sunny skies tomorrow, beautiful day, 92 at the coast, 95 inland. Next 5 days, absolute sunshine all the way through. A couple of days of northerly winds that will continue bringing the dry air into our region. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. If you can scan that, you can put Crossroads Today on your phone. And now we'll go to Shawna.
All right, thanks a lot, Mac. Well, Max Williams joins us now with a look at sports. And Max, we know it's football season, but there's some other sports that are in full stride as well.
Yeah, you want to include those other teams, right? You got volleyball, cross country, and Victoria East cross country team for the girls. They got second place at districts. I'll tell you more in sports. All right, everybody, so week 6 of high school football here is in the books. So now we go over to week 7, and one of the matchups we're going to look up and keep an eye on is between Alamo Heights and San Antonio and Victoria West Warriors. And both of these teams heading into this game are going to be 6-0. And they scored a lot of points for both of these teams heading into this game. For Alamo Heights, they've scored over 30 points per game in all the games they played in the 6 games so far. And Victoria West, they've scored over almost 40 points per game this season. So Alamo Heights, though, again, they lost their star quarterback last season in Colin Ernest, but now they have another one in charge in Walker Bryant. and they will have some explosive playmakers to keep an eye on at wide receiver and running back. But for Victoria West, they have potent offense as well. Dominic Martinez, the quarterback, running back Genesis Jeffries, and also do not sleep on wide receiver Tristan Bernard. He's been a scoring machine this past couple of weeks here for Victoria West. So I expect this one to be a high-scoring game, back and forth here in this one. And then another game here that's going to be huge in Week 7 is going to be between the Goliad Tigers. They're traveling to the Corpus Christi area, face the London Pirates. And quarterback Finn Wellick has been great for the Tigers this season. He's found star wide receiver Lamont Franklin a lot. He's made a lot of plays for the team, and running back Donovan Perry as well has been huge for Goliad. Now, for the London Pirates, they head in this game 3-2. Their losses have been to Refugio and Toulouse Midway. In both of their 3 wins, they've scored over 40 points in all those 3 wins. And those wins were over Bishop, Ranzas Pass, and Mathis. And both these teams, again, they're in 3A, Division 1, and they're trying to see if they can, one of these teams is going to lose their first game. Hopefully not. They're trying to keep it going and be undefeated in district. Now, again, I mentioned those 2 games. They're going to be here in Week 7, but then I wanted to get back to our viewer poll and ask, who do you thought was our player of the week back in Week 6? And here was the options. Goliad wide receiver Lamont Franklin, Yoakum wide receiver Xavier Barnett, Tidehaven quarterback Cale Russell, and then Bloomington running back Aiden Gardner. And right now, it looks like people are choosing Aiden Gardner again. Again, we had him again 1 week before as well as, again, who we thought our player of the week. And he leads it right now, but Lamont Franklin, again, had a good performance last week as well in Week 6. Now, we mentioned some games to keep an eye on here, and we saw teams, but now let's look what Dave Campbell's Texas football put out for Week 6 from, again, here in the rankings. Again, we'll start in 4A Division 1, El Campo. They're ranked at number 6. And then in 3A Division 1, Edna Cowboys, they're ranked at number 4. Goliad in that same area, they're ranked at number 9, so it dropped a little bit. And then 2A ranks Division 1, Refugio, 5-1. They're at, again, number 2, and Ganado is right there behind. And then again, you got 2A Division 2, Shiner. They get again in the number 9 spot. So a couple changes here heading into Week 7 here of high school football. And then finally tonight, I wanted to highlight Victoria East Cross Country. They placed again 2nd in districts this past week. And the girls cross country team, they've got a lot of qualifiers there. We had Zoe Cloud. She placed 3rd place. And then senior Avery Harriman placed 10th place in the individual qualifiers. So that means they will be heading to regionals for Victoria East. And this was, again, a lot of supporting cast for the team. And overall, supporting Zoe Cloud was all the girls, and just props out to all of them. I mentioned Avery Harriman, Kahana Thomas, Carly Currie, Kendall Cooch, Raquel Simpson, and then Zamira Valdez. So props out to Victoria East girls cross country team. That's going to do it here in sports. Don and Shawna, back to you.
All right, Max, thank you, and we're back in a moment. One of the most famous racetracks in the country is helping people recover from Hurricane Helene. And finally tonight, the Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee is joining in on relief efforts as Hurricane Helene recovery enters its 2nd week. The Speedway donated an 80,000 square foot warehouse to the state government to house donated relief supplies. Volunteers, National Guardsmen, and employees of emergency agencies from across Tennessee operate the center. They're processing donations from across the country. So usually you hear lots of people, yay, yay, here's my favorite driver winning that NASCAR race at Bristol. Now the track is hearing applause for itself for giving up and really helping people in Tennessee. North Carolina people need help, and Georgia, and now here comes another.
You know, and you've got to consider all of Florida Peninsula, then southern Georgia, and maybe even North Carolina is going to get some significant impact. So yeah, you're thinking, you know, coastal areas, tropical storms. The mountains of Appalachia is kind of different, but that's the way it works out. We are looking for nothing but lovely weather right on through the next 7 days. Very dry, unfortunately, for us. We need a little rain. It's been almost a month that we haven't had anything. We're looking at temperatures staying in the low 90s all the way through the next 7 days. And of course, as I said, it's going to be all Milton all week, all the time, as we watch to see that storm churn across the Gulf of Mexico.
All right, we got to keep those sprinklers going for our yards.
Unfortunately, we're going to be needing that, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mac. Thanks for joining us.
Be sure to join us back here tonight for 25 News Now at 10.